Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. It is Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss along with Pauly Howard. This show is brought to you by DraftKings, and it is Thursdays with the Maestro. Mike Palm is the VP of this glorious resort, along with the Golden Gate and the D in downtown Las Vegas. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Good morning, Mitch. Good morning, Paul.
Hey, Mike.
Good morning, Christmas Cove, Maine, and our loyal Nesson family
Here
who's
we
watching.
go.
Joy, Illinois. Peekaboo Marquee, we see you. Stocking Harbor, Newfoundland. For everybody watching on Rogers Sportsnet, Old Canada, north of the border. Mount Holly, North Carolina, and our vocal Masson family. Nazareth, Pennsylvania, Sportsnet in Pittsburgh. Noel, Missouri. All our loyal people watching on YouTube TV. And Hallelujah Junction, California.
Oh, come on.
Another sunrise
making that
over
up.
Spectrum.
Where's
making
Hallelujah
It's
Junction?
in California, Mitch.
That's all that matters?
As I just said.
Okay, how much
I
time?
don't know how far north Spectrum goes, but we'll say that.
How much time into the cities this week? That's the best list you've ever come up with.
Less than 25 minutes. I hit it pretty good.
Wow.
We had to go to Canada, search Canada, you know.
Yeah.
Then there was a Holly in Newfoundland, but I was going to use, the only thing I could find in Masson was Mount Holly, North Carolina. So I had to pivot there and found that Stocking Harbor.
You don't joke around with Christmas. You take it, you're right?
Look, all of my most vivid memories of childhood are of Christmas and of sports. I mean, that's what I remember, right? And my dad was so big into sports. So it's huge for the kids, and we have 3 small ones, so it's important.
Okay.
Well said.
Yep. Circa Survivor is down to 10, right, at this point.
Sure is.
Playing for $9.2 million. All this talk of a chop last week going into it. 12 people. Originally, it looked like they wanted to. Then it came out with one of the proxies that said, nah, not the case. All 12 did not want to chop. That's erroneous. And then the poker player didn't want to chop. Any further discussions on a potential chop?
Haven't heard anything. I mean, what these other 9 potentially are doing, I don't know. But we know the Golden Boy is going to the end. And he sits there, if he gets through the Quinella of Christmas and Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, then he sits there with a huge advantage, we would think with Jacksonville. Now, we don't know. Lawrence is gimpy, this and that. And Carolina won a game, but it wasn't a monsoon last week. So it's fascinating because you and I and Paul and Mitch, while you were still in, I mean, we were pointing to Christmas Eve as Denver here was probably going to be a layup. All 10 of them have Denver against the Patriots as the night game on Christmas Eve. How many will use them? And we remember the wild night game last Christmas Eve between Pittsburgh and the Raiders when a player was, 4 times a first down for the Raiders would have put it away, and he would have got the whole $6 million, and 4 Packers turnovers 12 hours later, and he's out of the contest.
Yeah, I'm going to go 19-1 and hate life. I can see that coming a mile away.
Oh, you will never hate life.
Yeah, this is
all right. You're never going to hate life.
I understand where people are coming from. Christmas is coming up. This guy, you're not going to play ball. And I spoke to Chris, who is TKO Bets, and he watches every day. And he told his girlfriend he feels like he's lost something here. He is stunned that there hasn't been a chop. He is stunned. Now, he's flying out. The great Will Case is taking care of him. It's just what Derek is doing here. And he's got the line ready to go. He's going to fly in, make his bets, use his line of credit, and then fly out. But Chris is one of the 10 still left. And but he's just, he's a little frustrated what's going on. And he's shocked like a lot of people, I think, that no one's playing ball.
Well, I will say this. We assume that all these guys, because we say that the Survivor's an everyman contest, right? It's tough. You got to pick 70% in the millions. These contests are really hard. A lot of professional people finish in the top 10 consistently. And this is where, the roofer from Florida can win it. And all these stories of just regular people, right? A teacher in Michigan. And we assume everybody's $100, a $200, maybe a $500 a game better, maybe a $20 a game better. But what if you're $100,000 a game better? What if you're betting $200 a game?
I know.
What does $400,000 mean to you?
Yeah.
Paulie, if you gave you $88, let's save $88. Are you going to say, oh, that's great. Let's save $88. Give me 2 bets.
I know. It's still $9 million. And I don't know. Las Vegas Chris had the do you want people ganging up on you type thing. I think that applies to poker, but not here, what he tweeted. But it's just, and the other thing too.
I think what Mike said is exactly spot on.
Yeah, okay. That's fair. But how about like a guy like Bowtie Cabaret? Because they're filming this documentary, and they interviewed me last week. The guy who's filming the documentary sat and watched with Bowtie Cabaret, who back-to-back weeks has won in overtime with Baltimore. He had the Bengals.
Yeah.
He didn't hedge. He hasn't hedged. I don't think he knows what he's, in terms of what to do and take out the line of credit and hedge. So that's another thing. Imagine if the Bengals lost. That guy was out and he wouldn't have made a dime.
Some people do. What was the guy 4 years ago you had on that had the Blues ticket and wouldn't hedge it? Remember, didn't you
That's
have
right.
it?
Oh, yeah.
He wouldn't hedge.
Yeah.
Right.
And he had it for several $100,000. He was a huge Blues fan.
Oh,
I hedged. I hedged mine all the way along after they got through the second round. So it's to each his own. I think it's become a fascinating study in how to, I like to say monetize, because hedge becomes a dirty word here.
Right.
So many people are anti it, but to monetize your position. And I think I've come to the conclusion that selling shares of your ticket is just the best way to do it.
Yeah.
You don't need to be liquid, right? You don't need to put a couple $100,000. You don't need to get into this negative progression of you keep losing your hedges, and now you got to bet more on your hedges and more on your hedges. There's other ways, there's obviously other ways to do it, and betting money line parlays of the teams your opponents have. That's another interesting way to do it. But it's a fascinating case study in game theory and in the human condition.
Living vicariously through Pauly as he was making this run this year.
Oh, yes. Many were.
Again, what you just said is exactly what, we kicked it around 2 weeks ago. I think that's my biggest takeaway, is that you can look again, Golden Boy, professional poker player. We asked David Baker to come on the show last week. Oh, so I'd love to, but I'm playing in a tournament to win that pays $40 million. These poker players, who knows how much they're betting on a game? They might be betting, like you said, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a game. So what overall is a $400,000 or a $700,000 chop to them? But also, if you want to sell, those are the kind of people that can get involved because they have that just laying around. Yeah, sure, I want a piece of that.
They don't have to get involved in the first 12, 13, 14 weeks. They can now go and try to pick a piece of it and have the sweat at the end,
awesome.
right?
The Survivor sweat thing's great. And the Golden Boy's over here to the side. That's one thing. I'm surprised we can't get something going with the other 9 guys. TKO Bets owns his own business. So what I said with Chris here, too.
Many of them are here every weekend now.
Yeah.
They're flying in so that they have the opportunity to monetize, and they're being a part of these documentaries that are being shot as well. Let's get to these prop questions you guys came up with.
I will set it 6.5 people that use Denver.
I think that's a sharp number. Mitch likes the under. What would you make the price on it? Don't you have to juice the over a little bit if you're going to make it 6.5?
Well, I would have to go under now based on what we've seen every week, though. What's been since day one, since week one, the big takeaway is how many
teams,
is how many
21
teams are being used. Yeah,
I mean, week 8, we still had 18 teams in play. It's amazing. But you look at the chart. All right, so let's say it's you two. I'll ask you two the question. You're in. There's 10 people left. You have the Rams, the Packers, the Bears, and the Broncos. Give me your order you're choosing them in.
I am seriously considering not using the Broncos.
You are?
Oh.
Seriously considering that, yes.
Wow.
And I think the Rams would have to be a very serious consideration to use tonight, the one person that has them.
And because it's one person, right?
Because it's only one person.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I'm that one person, I would consider that, because think about the edge that you're going to have. Nobody else has the Rams left. You do. You will find out. By the way, the Saturday night show here on VSiN is must-watch TV with Brown, Samich, Derek, and Jeff Benson. It's phenomenal. It's 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. You got to do it every single week. They do a great job with that. We'll find out at that point how many people are going to be on the Broncos. What if you take the Rams tonight? This is a fairy tale potential ending for that person. And then it pops that 9 other people are on Denver. The edge that you would have.
Here's also the key thing, because what if let's say they were the 9, and what's the price? $290.
They're minus 295 on the money line.
So you know if Denver loses or ties, you're free rolling with the tie. You know if Denver loses or ties, you're going to win $9.2 million. Now, how much can you get down? Because you can name your price, right? Do you want to give up $4.5 million and lock up $1.5 million? And if Denver wins the game, you pick up $1.5 million and you march forward with 10 other people.
Exactly right.
If Denver loses the game, you win 9.2, but you lose 4.5, so you still win $4.7 million. And if you tie, you win it all and you don't lose the bet. I mean, obviously there's the, but the tie. Didn't you think if they don't convert the third down that there was Cincinnati, that game was going to end in a tie if they punted back to Minnesota with 4.5 minutes to go?
Not only that one, but also
right?
Houston, Tennessee. Yeah. I text you, I'm
That's
like, what did you offer on the tie here in this game?
Yeah.
Someone it varies. It's been from 90 to 1 to 40 to 1, depending on the game.
Someone will use the Packers at Carolina.
I think so, too.
Someone will use the Packers. Chicago's too risky, but I think someone will use the Bears.
I think the Bears will be used.
I agree.
So what would you put the number of teams used at? 2.5, the over-under? Or 3.5?
3.5 teams
You
used.
would.
Okay, 3.5.
So you would have all 4 of these. Is there a team I didn't mention somebody's going to use?
I don't think so. I think those are the 4.
I think those are the 4.
Put it this way. If the person uses the Rams tonight, we will have 4 teams used.
So you think both the Bears and the Packers will be in play?
I do, yes.
How many people will go 20-0? I'll set that at 2.5.
I'll go over.
Okay.
I'll go over
Rod
to
Beck Apples has KC and Philly.
I want to get into just the mechanics of this. So then the pick has to come in for Christmas for everyone that advances. Technically, we populate it in your apps and the kiosk at midnight. They're going to try to get it up by 9:30. But the pick must be in by 9 a.m. on Christmas morning. That's the deadline, 9 a.m. Christmas morning to get your Christmas pick in.
More on this coming up next. By the way, I have an update because Derek likes to get funky with the Christmas slate. I have an update on NFL games being played in the future on Tuesday or a Wednesday. Tell you about that coming up next here on VSiN.
All I want for the holidays is some NBA action this week. New customers get $150 instantly in bonus bets just for betting $5. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code FOLLOW. We'll run down all the props tomorrow. Great job every week in the NFL. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, code FOLLOW. Great card tonight in the NBA. The crown is yours.
This is a nugget to file away for next year and future years. Again, when it comes to Circa Survivor, I've called Derek Stevens the mad scientist here with this because he likes to cause havoc with the holiday schedule, right? And you guys have been fortunate because in recent years now, including this one, the NFL has scheduled a bunch of games on Christmas Day so it can become its own separate week, and it makes it more difficult. Richard Deitch for The Athletic specifically wrote a column this week about games on Christmas Day and the history and the future of it. It's really well done. And how many there have been in recent years compared to previous years. It's so many more nowadays. They never used to play. They used to play the Christmas schedule on Saturdays all the time. They would bump it up and have a full schedule on Saturdays. Looking ahead, next year, Christmas falls on a Wednesday. In 2029, it's on a Tuesday, so on and so forth. He asked the question, would the NFL ever consider playing games on Christmas when it falls on a Tuesday or a Wednesday? Hans Schroeder is in charge of this stuff. Talked to Richard Deitch for the story, and he said, quote, we're not looking to play football on a Tuesday or a Wednesday at this point, especially this late in the year as we get close to the postseason. We want to focus on the run to the playoffs and for that competitive equity to really shine through.
Let me throw this one at you then. The playoff starts next year, the 12-team playoffs. They're going to play one game on this past weekend, right? This past weekend. They're going to play one game on Friday night and 3 on Saturday. The NFL is not going to play games on that Saturday against the college football playoff, where they would normally have 2 or 3. Do they schedule 3 on a Monday night? Do they? I think this experiment, where everybody says, why are they doing 2 on a Monday night? Why is that? I think it's because of the college football playoff. They're trying to set up that weekend where they would normally play the Saturday games onto Monday.
Interesting.
I hope they would get 3. Tough to make you pick out of 2. Right?
Yes, it is.
It's really tough.
But what about not that weekend, but another weekend in December when they have 3 Saturday games? Could you make that its own week?
The Thursday with the Saturday as its own week? You could.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Tough.
You could.
Overall, though, because you want to keep it a 20-week contest is my guess.
Yes. 20 is a nice number.
Yeah.
Go 20 and 0.
Yeah.
Now
How about the numbers in Circa Millions? 3 weeks left playing for $1 million. 54, 20, and 1 is your leader. Then you got the booby, where someone's 22, 52, and 1.
But like, third place to 55th place is separated by like 2 games.
Is that what it is?
Incredible. Yeah.
Wow.
It's incredibly tight once you go down to third. I think Fezzik is third or whatever. Even if you count the first guy, from like first to 55th is 3.5 or 4 points. 4 games, right? It's amazing how tight it is. You asked me a question. I know we're going to talk MVP and Coach of the Year. I've asked several people on this network. They're all very smart people, and there's interesting ideas, though. And Mitch, you asked me this in text or an email this week. I mean, I'm done betting bowl games until we get to the playoffs. Who knows who's playing? Who knows who's playing after the first series? I can't follow it. We've totally devalued the bowl system, which was always a concern with the playoff. And now we're going to have 12. How do we fix this bowl system? Growing up, I loved bowls, betting on bowls. You tried to find the 2 or 3 bowls where one team wasn't motivated. Now you can't find 2 where 2 teams are motivated. How do we fix it, though? How do we keep the bowl system still interesting from a fan, player, university, and better perspective?
How about the players who are going to get the NIL money? It's written up in a contract that half of it comes if they play in the bowl game.
That's interesting.
Could that be something that they could tinker with?
Would they ever do something like the NBA did, where the winning team of each bowl game, the school got X amount of money, and the staff and players split X amount of money, but only if you played in the game?
They should.
Right? $250 or something, $250,000, and it gets split amongst the players if they play.
I like that idea.
Tim Murray had an interesting idea. He said, don't play the bowl games in December. The bowl game becomes your first non-con to start the next year.
Wow. Okay.
Now, the negative is the economic impact it has to these towns that host bowl games, right? In a time in December. But
yeah.
It's a out of the box idea. I thought it was pretty interesting.
So you're like done.
Can't be safe.
Before the game start, you're like,
I don't even know who's paying attention who's playing. Like, I mean, and the results are so wacky. Teams blow 28-point leads. You got, their best players aren't playing. Your best player plays the first half for Marshall and doesn't play this. I mean,
yep. I kicked this around with JVT when Paul was out the other day.
Yeah.
How many bowl games do you think we're going to have where a team gets up by at least double digits, or we'll call it 2 touchdowns, and they blow the game? It's been back-to-back games now.
Yeah. 6, 7, 8.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
It's exhibitions. These are purely, Chris Bennett says when we were discussing what are we going to take for limits on bowl games, we should take NFL exhibition limits. These are nothing but exhibition games.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. We saw something historic, I think, Saturday. I think you said something absurd, and you also were speechless at the blackjack draft, what happened Saturday night. Who's your MVP?
Tyreek Hill. He's the only guy that changes the game. This is a wide open year where somebody other than a quarterback can win. To me, you see the difference in Miami when he's out. Look at what they did. They couldn't even move the ball against Tennessee when he was out. He changes the game plan of the offense and the defense, trying to keep the ball away from him. Michael Lombardi talked about this like after week 5, and Stormy said, it's a St. Jude bet, no wide receiver. Cooper Kupp won the Triple Crown. He didn't win it. He said Cooper Kupp is an executor. Tyreek Hill is a game changer and a life creator, I guess, as well.
Oh, yeah, right.
From those stories.
Yes.
Boy, is this guy fast. He's really good. If it's going to have to go to a quarterback, I've been saying this all year. He probably won't win because of the stats. But if they go into San Francisco and win on Christmas night, I think Lamar becomes very live. I think he's the MVP. I don't buy Purdy because I don't think he's the MVP of his own team.
Who is?
Well, it's McCaffrey.
No.
What are you going to say?
They're 0-3 with Debo, without Debo. Come on, I can make a case.
And the offensive lineman, too. You're going to give it to – come on. But the quarterback could not overcome those injuries. If this guy was a game-changing quarterback, he should have been able to win one of those games. Couldn't.
I will say this, and I have Purdy 18-1. I finally bought in late in the year. I have nothing on Lamar Jackson. If Lamar wins this game, the national narrative will turn into 100%. It's Lamar Jackson.
Are you going to bet Lamar Jackson in this game? Are you going to bet him to win the award before the game, or would you bet you don't like Baltimore in the game? You only bet him if you think Baltimore's going to win the game.
No, that's the thing. That's the thing, right?
Baltimore doesn't win the game, he's not winning.
I agree.
Yeah,
the only way for Purdy to lose this is if they lose to Baltimore, and Jackson's great on in front of the whole world watching on Christmas night.
Now, I know Pauly likes the Niners. What about you? Do you think the Ravens can go there and win?
I don't think so.
Man,
I believe it's a short.
I don't think they are consistent enough on offense to sustain the drives here. There's too many stubbing of their toes.
Well, you lost Mitchell. You don't have Andrews. And the other thing, you're the highest in the market. You're 230 on Purdy. Mm-hmm. So he's really up there the year that he's having. But
Can Dak win, or is he wiped out now?
Got to be out.
He should always be out. I never bought that argument. whether they can win on the road or they can't win on the road or whatever. They're a great front-running team. That's what they are.
That's
they
exactly
have
what
to
they
have
are.
the lead. That's
Yes.
always what's been.
Yeah.
What about Coach of the Year? I think this is a fascinating discussion.
It's really fascinating.
Week 18 game, Houston, Indy.
I know if Stroud misses a lot and they stumble down the stretch, I think for me it's Ryans or Steichen, because you have to go with expectations. This is what the Lions were supposed to do. They were supposed to do this, right?
Yeah.
You can't give it to Shannon. You can't give it in Miami. That's what these teams were supposed to do. I think you have to judge Coach of the Year based off results over expectations. Houston was 4.5 was their win total. This was a throwaway season.
Right.
Well, they would build in the draft around Stroud.
And can he win back-to-back games with Keenum? And get this big one against the Browns.
I also think what Steichen is doing with Gardner Minshew
Absolutely.
and this roster of it's not a very good roster.
No, it's not at all. The defense is not good.
It's terrible.
And Minshew creates a lot of points on both sides of the ball, and nobody's talking about the Colts. And meanwhile, they're just still right in there.
All right, what if Stefanski wins 11 games?
No, they were supposed to win 10, Paul. I have them over
Yeah, but
9.5.
look at how they
Who
got there, though.
cares? Who cares? He's got the best defense in the world at home.
Yeah, but half the guys are on the
I
IR.
don't care.
He's a
No.
second-string offensive line.
No. I don't
You
buy
love
it.
Nick Chubb. No Chubb since like week 2.
Yeah, they got a better guy. They got that Ford. Ford. Yes. No, I don't buy that either. I think it's Steichen or Ryans. That to me.
I agree. And they play week 18. If they both go, then it's tough.
You could bet them both right now.
Yeah.
So you want to say no to Dan Campbell?
I'm a no on Dan Campbell. Also, that ridiculous fake punt call on
He said
Thanksgiving.
multiple ridiculous calls this year.
But he can't explain them either. And the reporter did a good job of asking him 3 times, what did you see to call it? Not just call it since we're going to call it.
Sure.
What did you see in the Packers punt defense formation? Nothing. He ran into 8 guys. He couldn't even get back to the line.
Yeah, it wasn't even
He couldn't
close.
answer the question.
Yeah. I'm willy-nilly. I decided to go
I
for
still
it at
like
that point.
the guy, but his game management is still,
Yeah. Do you like anything tonight in the game? Paul really likes the Rams.
I'm surprised how many people love the Rams tonight and lay the 4.
They're
lay
good.
it. Yeah. Are they? You
Yes.
watched them play in Baltimore.
Yep.
You had to
Should've
sweat
won
that
the
game, right?
I didn't use. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got criticized. I thought Baltimore was going to lose. Look like that. They should have lost.
And rain
hot.
and weather. It
You're
was
right.
a heavy weather game.
This offense is humming, man.
Yeah.
Are the
He's
Saints?
got weapons.
I don't think the Saints are good.
I agree. I am with you.
They get to play away from home, but they boo this car every time he touches the ball in the Superdome.
He deserves
they
it.
hate him.
The clear quarterback and coaching edge here is on the Rams side.
Yes, sir.
In Pocket Plays coming up next on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
The guy has an algorithm to determine the winner of any given college basketball game.
Someone gives you 10,000 to 1 on anything. You take it. Take it. Take it.
I bet you $20 I can get you gambling before the end of the day. No way. I'll give you 3 to 1 odds. Nope. 5 to 1. Nope. 10 to 1. You're on.
Right. Big one tonight. Playoff implications. Longest touchdown under 39.5 yards. Largest lead under 14.5 points. Both teams to score a touchdown and a field goal. Minus $2. I like the Rams as well, but we have futures on the Rams to make the playoffs. Let's go get it tonight. And a big one in the NFL with the second to last Thursday night game of the season.
Yep.
Mama. Holidays are...
But I just had a recap last
No,
night.
also-
I had the Rockets laying the 3 against the Hawks, and that was a loser. We documented that game earlier in the show. What a wild 3 hours that was.
Holidays are here. Let Omaha Steaks take the guesswork out of gifting. Carefully curated gift packages guaranteed to make spirits bright all winter long. Go to omahasteaks.com. Save 50% off site-wide. And when you use code VSiN at checkout, get an additional $30 off your order. Filet, burgers, jumbo franks, easy to prepare meals ready in a flash. Omaha Steaks. The possibilities are endless. omahasteaks.com. 50% off site-wide. A gift from the heart. A gift that will be remembered with every unforgettable bite. Minimum order may be required. Get up there. Love them. Awesome food at Omaha Steaks. Also unforgettable is the tradition here of the Christmas special. And years ago, the Christmas Just Not for Christians. Mike Palm has done it again. Take it away, Maestro.
It's been a nice run. We've had Christmas, not just for Christians. We had the Charlie Brown Christmas message, the Christmas of hope. Last year was the beautiful mess. And so we'll try to deliver again this year. The holiday season is a wonderful time to celebrate family, friends, co-workers, and acquaintances. Decorating, shopping, Christmas parties, midnight mass, and the kids waking up on Christmas morning to open presents and see what Santa has brought them are all among elements that make Christmas so special. Bob Hope said, "My idea of Christmas, whether old-fashioned or modern, is very simple. Loving others." Come to think of it, why do we have to wait for Christmas to do that? So this year, my wife started decorating November 1st, and she put up 3 trees. 3 trees, guys. We have the big, beautiful tree in front window. We have a smaller tree in the dining room, and then a little tree in the family room as well. So I said to myself, the poultry job I do, hanging lights. I'm no aerialist and climbing up on these eaves and everything like that. I'm going to hire a company to do the lights this year, right? So they came on Thanksgiving evening and hung these lights and did the tree. And if you're watching on TV, you can see the picture. So I'm standing out in the middle of the street looking at it as they're finishing up the project. And I glance over to the right, and no more than 40 yards from me, there's a power generator there that sits on the side street in front of the larger apartment complex that's over there. And I thought of something that had happened in the summer. I think it was mid-June, and a homeless couple, younger couple, probably 25, 30 years old, showed up with all of their belongings and several blankets and made a canopy over that generator to create shade. And they stayed there for a day, and then it became 2 days. And then on the 3rd day, I said to my wife, I think maybe we're creating an unnecessary security risk for the kids. It's summer, they're out of school, they're outside all the time. I'm going to call Metro and get them to move along. So on my way to work, I called the non-emergency number and was on hold probably a half hour. Officer answered finally, took a very detailed report, and said, we'll send somebody out in the next few hours. And my wife called a couple hours later and said a squad car came by and talked to them, and they moved along and they were gone. And I hadn't thought about that for 5 months. But here we were getting ready for the holiday season, and I'm standing there on Thanksgiving night looking at all of our lights, and I started to think about that. And I started to think about, as our kids are making out their list for Santa and we're going shopping and they're going to be opening presents, have we created enough of an attitude of gratitude within our kids? Or have we created a sense of entitlement for all the wonderful things that we celebrate during the Christmas season that many other people do not? So my wife and I sat down and said, let's try to start having our kids appreciate what they have. So the first thing we did was we went upstairs with them. Now they're about to be 8, my son. My stepdaughter is 6, and then, of course, the baby's 2. So with the 2 older kids, we went upstairs, and we said, look, you're going to make 2 piles of all the toys you have, all of them. 1 pile you're going to keep, and the other pile we're going to donate to kids that don't have toys, that aren't in as fortunate a situation. And then we're going to go through our closets and our dressers and try on all our clothes. And everything that doesn't fit perfectly, we're going to donate. And then 1/3 of what does fit, we're going to donate. And that was the start of it. Then we're going to sit down, we told them, and we practiced. You're going to write a thank you card for every gift you received this year. Not a phone call where you just say something, not you ignore it, but you're going to sit down and write a thank you card that we're going to mail for every gift you get, whether it was from a classmate, or from a family member, from a friend. And the final part of this project was we told them to get on their iPads, and they're wizards on their iPads. They're probably more computer savvy than I am. And I want you guys to give us some suggestions at a place or an event where, as a family, we can donate 2 hours a month. And we're going to do that, and we're going to rotate months, and we're going to try to give back of our time to those that are less fortunate. Is it too late? Did we wait too late to do this? Is it enough? I don't know, but it's a start. And it's a reminder that the Christmas season is about celebrating new beginnings, but also about having an attitude of gratitude and giving back to those that are less fortunate. This is my favorite part from our previous Christmas reflections, and I try to include it every year. We, as people of faith and goodwill, at Christmas time and always, should be on the lookout for those in need, the poor, widows, orphans, loners, the rejected, the suffering, the lost, the angry, and the depressed, our neighbors, strangers, brothers, sisters, co-workers, friends, and yes, even enemies. And we should help and love them because God first loved us. From Derek Stevens and the entire team here at Circa, the D, the Golden Gate, and the Downtown Las Vegas Event Center. For Lynn Mead, Bill Adey, the Musburger family, Brian Rogers, John Goulet, and everyone here at VEASAN. And from Mitch and Paul and myself, we wish you a very joyful and a very grateful Christmas.
Good job, pal.
Good job.
Way to go. You deliver every single Christmas season.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. With time to spare.
My advice would be, if you're going to go to church on Sunday night, if you have to bet Broncos Patriots, don't track it on your phone when you're at church.
Go to midnight mass. Of course, a lot of places are like 10 now. They don't do a true midnight mass.
They schedule it out throughout the day. There are churches here, I think, in Las Vegas that have like 9 different sessions that you can go to. And I say that because I bet the Hawaii Bowl years ago, and I bring this up as a reminder, I think, every single year. It's not quite Mike Palm's Christmas message in the same vein, but I had Hawaii laying the points, and it's December 24th, and we're at Mass. I'm tracking the game on my phone, and after their 6th turnover in the first half, as the guy, the pastor is talking, I'm cursing under my breath, not realizing in the moment, I'm like, maybe that's not the best idea.
What were they playing?
I'd have to go back and check the exact team.
Year?
2008 or 9-ish.
Were you here in Las Vegas?
I was in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Can you imagine the problem with the people with the cell phones in church? Can you imagine the older people, like the phone going off, or it's oh my God. I mean, he's got to be right into it, getting into it. And then father's like,
Well, that's now, they say at the start of Mass, they have someone come up and say, please turn all your cell phones to a side. They have to every time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We used to have a priest, he came in, Father Tobin, he became a Monsignor back at Sacred Heart in Dubuque. And when he came in, he was there 10 years. He became the pastor there 10 years. Really a mentor of mine. But he said, after being there for a couple months, I can't stand people leaving early. People would leave. They'd get communion and leave, right? They wouldn't wouldn't wait for the final prayer. Yeah. So he said, I don't want anybody leaving until I walk down the aisle. As I come down the aisle, you can leave your pews behind me, right? And follow me out of church. And he put big signs up at the 3 doors at the back of church that said, Judas left the Last Supper early. Will you? It was effective.
Good one.
It was effective.
Yeah, the ego play, though. I don't care for it.
How have the kids reacted to doing what you said in the message there, separating their clothes, going to give away the stuff that doesn't fit to charity, other spots, and also going to a spot 2 hours a month?
So they have to, on Christmas Eve, they're going to present their options about where we're going to volunteer. So we'll see about
it.
They've had fun practicing writing the thank you notes, right, which helps their handwriting. I don't think they practiced the penmanship enough in school. But there was a little more pushback on the toys.
I will say
it was.
A handwritten note. A handwritten note, it's a loss.
Powerful. Nobody does it anymore.
Nobody does it anymore? That's exactly the right word.
Sometimes at weddings, people send you notes.
That means more than you can imagine to this day.
I think it's powerful.
Because you shock people. People don't expect it now. And you're like, wow, you took the time to write me this kind of a note? It means a lot.
Good job.
Thank you.
A.
Can't go back-to-back A+. Never hear the end of it.
Thanks, Paul.
Merry Christmas, Mike.
Merry Christmas.
Up next, fantasy football, Brian Johnson's filling in for Charge. Does he like anybody for the Saints other than Elvin Kamara tonight?
Want to check out VEASAN's betting splits but don't have a VEASAN subscription yet? No problem. This week, we're giving away everyone access to the betting splits for free, updated with DraftKings odds every 5 minutes, so you can see changes in all the action, find out where the public's betting based on the number of tickets, and where the money doesn't match the public opinion. Future events are up there as well. Free access to the VEASAN betting splits all week. VEASAN.com/splits. VEASAN.com/splits.
How would you play that, by the way, for those who have Brock Purdy MVP tickets?
I see the guy upped his offer to over $100,000 now. It was
the person who wanted to buy it.
Went pays $200,000. Said no to $90,000.
Would you add Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, I would take. There's a scenario where the Ravens win and Jackson's okay though too, but I would play I would bet Jackson before the game because you're not going to. Ravens money line, not good enough. I would take the plus 450, whatever it is now.
All right. We'll talk some fantasy football here. It's a very important week, obviously, with the playoffs upon us. Brian Johnson filling in for Paul Charchian this week, part of the Fantasy Football Weekly podcast. Brian, thanks for the time, as always. Let's begin with this Thursday night game. Do you trust anybody on New Orleans other than Alvin Kamara?
First off, thanks again for having me, guys. Unfortunately, it's usually when Charch is sick or in prison. The latter was a joke. I don't know. Charge has never been to prison as far as I know, but he's a little under the weather. But happy to be here. And yeah, big week and a big game tonight. Like you said, outside Alvin Kamara, he's a must start, of course, for New Orleans. How about Jimmy Graham? 4 touchdowns on just 7 targets. That's more than half a touchdown per target. So give this guy 8 targets. No, this is also a joke. You're not starting Jimmy Graham either, but unbelievable season for him.
No kidding.
4th in touchdowns among all tight ends. I think he has more than Kyle Pitts, sadly, my boy. But no, the only other real option for New Orleans is Chris Olave tonight. He sat last week with a sprained ankle, but he will play tonight against the Rams, who are allowing more than 160 yards per game to wide receivers. That's a healthy number. And over the last 2 weeks, opposing wideouts are averaging 200-plus yards and have totaled 5 touchdowns against the Rams. And before last week, when Olave sat, he had an NFL high 1,093 unrealized air yards. Nobody else was even at 900. So Olave has been getting his shots downfield all season, and that should continue tonight. So I will start Olave. I would give him a B grade if we were doing a FFW right now, Fantasy Football Weekly.
How about the big 4 with the Rams? We've talked all day about how New Orleans has been bad against the run. Williams has been great this year. Kupp coming off back-to-back 100-yard games, and also Puka and Stafford. What do you think of the big 4 with L.A.?
Yeah, it sounds like you covered a lot of it. Williams, obvious no-brainer. 4th in rushing yards and 3rd in total touchdowns among running backs this season, and he's only played 10 games, really 9.5. Just a monster year for Williams out of nowhere. But you would have been on him if you were listening to Fantasy Football Weekly in August. We were saying he was worth a late round flyer. As for Kupp and Nacua, like you said, Kupp pretty much back to must start status regardless of matchup. He scored in 3 straight, 100-plus yards and a touch in each of the last 2. And those were tough matchups in the mix there, Cleveland and Baltimore. But this is another tough one. The Saints have allowed 8 wide receiver touchdowns all season. That's the second fewest, and just 1 over the last 6 games. So I'm still rolling out Kupp, but I'm a little nervous about Puka tonight. Okay. He scored just 2 touchdowns over his last 9. During that same span, he's topped 90 yards just 2 times, and he only had 90-plus and a touchdown in 1 game during that span. So I can't fault you for starting Nacua in standard leagues, but if you have a better option, I might roll one out. And if you're in a guillotine league, if you're still alive in a guillotine league, you probably have a better option than Puka Nacua. So I would bench him in a guillotine league. And lastly, for Stafford, tough matchup on paper as it is for the wide receivers. But New Orleans hasn't faced many notable passers as of late. Tommy DeVito, Bryce Young, Desmond Ridder, Josh Dobbs. Mm-hmm. Other than those less than stellar throwers, the very comparable Jared Goff threw for multiple scores against the Saints in Week 13. Stafford could do the same. He has multiple touchdown passes in 4 straight, 12 total during that span. He's top 250 in passing yards in 3 of those 4 games. He's a top 10 option. I mean, if you have Justin Fields or someone along those lines, you would start him over Stafford, but he's a viable option this week.
The box score for Derrick Henry last week was an all-timer in a bad way. He had 16 carries for 9 yards. The good news is he had 4 targets and 4 catches. The bad news, it resulted in 1 yard overall. I mean, just a huge flop last week for Derrick Henry. Obviously, that was an important week. This one more important in the playoffs. What do you expect from Derrick Henry as a bounce-back week?
Yeah, making last week even worse. His previous 5 games before that against the Texans, he had totaled like 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns, just insane numbers. So, yeah, major letdown for Henry. That was a pretty good matchup last week. It's a good matchup this week against Seattle, but the usage is concerning. I read this is the first time for the Titans under Mike Vrabel's tenure where they have nothing to play for in the regular season.
Wow.
unless it was like the last game of the season, right? So there's no motivation to trot Henry out there, who is past his prime, unfortunately. I think you save what tread you have on his tires if I'm Tennessee or if I'm Derrick Henry myself. So I don't know. After last week, when he wet the bed in a smash spot, I'm not trusting Henry this week. I got to bench him, unfortunately. I think they give Tajay Spears a little more run this week. So I'm out on Henry, unfortunately.
Brian Johnson, our guest, pinch hitting for the under the weather, Paul Charchian. Let's follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Brian is part of the Fantasy Football Weekly podcast with Charch as well. Any other big name players this week that you're really scared about using?
Yeah, Nico Collins, if he plays, he missed last week with the calf injury. It sounds like he's coming back. If he is active or is said to be playing, people will be excited to put him in their lineup, but there's some cause for concern here. First off, C.J. Stroud unlikely to play, so we're looking at another game with Case Keenum, who played well last week. Don't get me wrong, but this is a brutal matchup for Nico. They're playing the Browns. The Browns allowing less than 10 catches per game to wide receivers as a whole. That is the fewest in the league. They got all-pro cornerback Denzel Ward back last week, but their other corner, Martin Emerson Jr., has been Darrelle Revis-like this year. In 444 coverage snaps, he has allowed 0 touchdowns and a 44.6 passer rating in his coverage. That secondary will just lock in on Nico Collins in this game. So even if active, I think you got to keep him on your bench in Week 16. Very crucial Week 16.
Paul has been calling for this for weeks, and Chandler finally had a big game and got opportunities against the Bengals, and now O'Connell has said he's going to get a big dose the rest of the season. I mean, is he a guy that's available? Pick him up, and maybe some other sleepers that you like if he fits that criteria?
I doubt Chandler is available after last week, coming off a career high in carries, a career high in targets. Basically had a better game than Alexander Madison has had in his entire career. Yeah, they better give Chandler bell cow usage, but it's a tough matchup against Detroit. Pro Football Focus's 4th best run defense, but Minnesota's got a good offensive line, so he's still startable, but really only at an RB2 level. The Lions have not had a running back top 67 rushing yards against them and have given up a league-low 62 rushing yards per game. So it's not as good of a matchup against as it was against the Bengals, who lost multiple defenders throughout that game as well. So I would temper your expectations a little bit for Chandler. And he's not a must-start, but at the worst, he definitely has flex appeal.
Same game on the opposing side, Brian. Can we all expect Sam Laporta to score 3 touchdowns again?
Probably. This is a great narrative in this game because, of course, T.J. Hockenson playing for the Vikings, formerly of the Lions. The Lions trade Hawk to Minnesota. The Lions draft Laporta with the draft pick. So these guys are both going to be motivated in this game. I'm not gonna say he's going to score 3 touchdowns, but I like both their chances to show up in this one, even though it's kind of a somewhat neutral matchup for each in terms of what the defenses are allowing to the tight end position. But just thinking of Laporta and Hockenson going into next year, we might be talking first-round picks, these 2 guys. And a third tight end that might be in that mix, and it's not Travis Kelce, it's Trey McBride. So we have a tight end revolution on our hands. I'm very excited. But you're starting Laporta and or Hockenson. You'd start them both if you have them. Yep. You can't sit these guys at this point. You
can follow Brian on X. He is at BTXJ, part of the Fantasy Football Weekly podcast and GuillotineLeagues.com. Brian, thanks for the time today. Good luck with the move, by the way, and Merry Christmas.
Appreciate that, boys. Always a pleasure. Merry Christmas to you as well. Happy holidays to all.
Be good.
Thank you, sir.
Would you use the Rams tonight if you had them?
No.
You would not?
No. Too risky, although I like them.
If you were still alive, you'd use the Broncos.
I was going to use Denver.
All right.
Mapped it out.
Best of luck tonight. We'll see you.